The following brief has been created with open source information found in books as well as on the internet. However, do take it with a pinch of salt, however, as some aspects have been kept secret due to said country's Official Secrets Act, or we just don't know, and sometimes the best place is actually Wikipedia. So with that said and done, let's get started with today's video. The Type 052 Bravo, or as NATO designates it, a Luyang class destroyer, is the first attempt for China to build a area air defense destroyer. It was conceived post completion of the Type 051 Bravos, as well as the acquisition of two pairs of Sovremenny class destroyers. There was an obvious hole that needed to be filled in the department of somewhat long-range area air defense, and so the 52 Bravos would be conceived for this role. Ordered sometime in the early 2000s, two ships would be ordered. These vessels would be the Huanzhou and Hue. Please don't kill me, China, if I pronounce any of those incorrectly. Anyway, these vessels would be 6,500 tons, 155 meters long, 17.2 meter beam, and a draft of 6 meters. They'd be powered by a combined diesel and gas turbine system, delivering 52,000 shaft horsepower through two shafts, propelling the ships to about 30 knots in a flat calm. The ship's company would consist of 280 officers and enlisted personnel. Her range is unknown, but based off comparable sized ships, they would need to require to replenish at sea every 7 days from an oiler for fuel as well as supplies. The ship's radar fit would be as follows. One single top plate early warning tracking Echo Foxtrot band radar, capable of detection of air targets out to 135 nautical miles and surface contacts out to 80 nautical miles. 1. Type 364 multifunctional India/Juliet band radar, capable of the detection of contacts out to 40.1 nautical miles. 1. Bandstand, or as it's also known as the Mineral ME, target acquisitional India/Juliet band radar, capable of detecting and tracking targets out to 150 nautical miles. 1. Type 344 Fire Control India/Juliet band radar, capable of detecting and firing out to about 7 nautical miles. And finally, 4. Front Dome Fire Control India/Juliet band radars for the surface-to-air missile system, capable of directing missiles out to 26 nautical miles. 1. Type 210 100mm main gun, capable of effectively firing out to 6.4 nautical miles, located on the forecastle. 2. SAN-12 Grizzly surface-to-air missile systems, one forward and one aft, with 24 rounds in the magazine, capable of downing an aircraft out to 13.5 nautical miles at Mach 4.5. The real sting of these ships is the 4 Quad YJ-83, or as it's more commonly known as, the Saccade anti-ship missile. These are capable of flying at Mach 0.9 out to 97.2 nautical miles, utilising an active seahead during the terminal phase. 2 times Type 730 30mm close-in weapon systems, abreast of the foremast. These are capable of spitting out a magazine of 630 rounds in about half a second, capable of downing any aerial targets out to 0.8 nautical miles. And finally, to round out the ship's armament, she will carry an assortment of self-defense weapons, such as the Type 95 assault rifle and Type 80 machine guns, which is a Chinese version of the RPK. The aviation facilities of this ship consist of a large flight deck and hangar, capable of housing and launching a Kamarov Ka-28 Helix. So, the 52 Bravos would be laid down in Shanghai at the Zhangzhou shipyards in 2000, with Wenzhou being the first laid down. She was launched in late May of 2002, and sea trials were conducted a year later. She would be accepted into service in mid-2004. Her sister ship, Wuhan, would be laid down around about the same time, launched in January 2003 and commissioned in late 2004. By 2005, it was evident that these two vessels were operational, and the West was looking at interest at these two vessels. They were the indigenous-built multi-role destroyers with a heavy striking punch and Russian radars, which would set the trend from here on out with Chinese warships, going for its allies' radars instead of the Western radars the 052s and 051 Bravos would initially have fitted. The hull was very sleek and fast-looking, and after calculations by Western officials, it was noted that these vessels were very, very good seaboats, and that they were fast and very well armed. A potent force to be reckoned with if hostilities were to commence. In the anti-air department, however, it's somewhat lacking. The short-range surface-to-air missile system on board, granted, it is an upgrade over the previous classes, but it is literally taken from a Sovremenny class destroyer. And it's more of a self-defense weapon system than a whole entire task group weapons fit, like an SM-2 or SM-3 that most navies with NATO are fitted with. Looking at the ship's service careers, it was noticed that the two ships had not actually been seen outside of home waters in their first couple of years. So, taking a constructive guess at what the ships would have roughly been doing, first year or so, they would be doing tests on the ships, seeing what they can do. Normally a shakedown after commissioning, doing propulsion tests to see how fast these ships could actually get up to. Next would be manoeuvrability tests to see how the ships would actually handle. Her turning circle would be interesting, as well as how fast the speed would decrease in a hard turn. After that, I think they would take part in a couple of weapons trials, as well as some damage control exercises, seeing how fast and well they can fight the ship, internally as well as externally. In essence, a BOST type of program, just Chinese and on a new ship. Tests would be run on the combat system, the data links with other vessels, as well as tests on the ship's radars and how they affect other ships in the task group. And most importantly, if the radars can operate without drawing too much of the ship's power, otherwise she might TLF at combat speeds. Once these ships had finished their combat trials, they would be ready for operations. So around the time the ships would finish their Chinese BOST, they would conduct exercises in the South China Sea, the East China Sea, as well as other seas around China. By 2009, Zhao would be sent as part of the Chinese contingent to the Peace 09 multinational exercise off Pakistan. In this exercise, 20 other nations would be watching on, and nations like the US, United Kingdom, France, Japan, Turkey, as well as others would actually take part. Now, after a couple of weeks of this exercise, she would return home to China. Over the next couple of years, we know that these ships formed the flagships of NEF patrols in the Gulf of Aden, conducting maritime security operations as well as the anti-piracy operations, normally going against the Somalian pirates trying to nick the odd cargo ship. So, after returning from such patrols, the vessels would enter an SMP, or shoreside maintenance period, to remove any defects as well as all the rust streaks. Because believe it or not, most Chinese warships don't have any rust on them. Guess the Chinese government are paying out a lot for very, very light grey paint. Anyway, these vessels have been involved in the odd standoff in the East China Sea with, believe it or not, China, as well as other nations that are in the disputed areas around the South China Sea. Now, I'm going into a bit of politics here, so I'm going to refrain from that. Now, current OSINT suggests that these vessels are still in active service, and both vessels are conducting nationality patrols of the South China Sea, as well as conducting the odd NEF patrol. Thank you very much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Before you go, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with my latest videos, as well as commenting, and if you want to, subscribe to the Patreon page to support the channel. All I need to say is, here's a sneak peek at next week's video.